Prime Minister Keir Starmer is expected to push the US for a ceasefire in Gaza, as well as to discuss controversial trade tariffs when he meets President Trump later today in Scotland.
Joining us now is the Business Secretary, Jonathan Reynolds. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
On those trade tariffs, the government made a big deal, didn't they, about what had been achieved with the US, the deal that was in place. We've still got 25% tariffs, though, on steel and aluminium. Is that something that will be sorted out today?
Well, it won't be sorted out today, but it is the basis of something we'll be discussing with the US, as we do every day. I mean, look, the deal we announced, we always said it was jobs saved, it wasn't jobs done. There are hundreds of thousands of people in work in the UK today, in the automotive sector, in the aerospace sector, because of what was achieved. There are other things in those sectoral tariffs like steel and aluminium where we got a good high-level agreement, but we've got to have the detail of that sorted out. And then there's the other negotiation on what the US calls reciprocal tariffs. So that's the 10% that's there. So look, on steel and aluminium specifically, we have a better deal than anyone else in the world, but it's not enough. We've got to get to where we really want to be, which is the removal of that 25% entirely. I'm confident of that. I wouldn't have announcements as a result of this visit today. In the next few days, it's mainly a private visit from the President. But yes, we are continuing at pace to get that bottomed off and get to the position which I think we should be in, which is to have no tariffs in place on a key area like that.
OK. I mean, you say that, we got 10%, the EU got a 15% deal, didn't they? So we're in a better position than them. Is that a Brexit bonus?
Well, look, being able to negotiate on our own is something that's come from leaving the European Union. So, yes, that's a bonus in that sense. I mean, I do try and get people, whether it's the US deal, the EU deal, the India deal, to say, look, however you voted in that referendum, you can support these things. They are in the interests of every bit of the UK, and that's a part of that. But look, as well, Brexit alone wouldn't deliver this. I mean, the previous government had these freedoms. It didn't deliver very much. It's how you approach it, and some people have offered all kinds of advice on the US relationship of how we could have played this, but I am certain that what we've done, which is engage with them on the issues, has delivered the right thing for the UK.
Although, as you say, Jonathan Reynolds, you can claim, I think rightly, the India trade deal is good news. You can claim the EU trade deal with Britain and the UK is good news. But on this one, the fact is you've got nothing on service access to the American market, and we're going to pay higher tariffs than we were paying before. So this is not good news, it's bad news, it just could be worse.
Well, it's good news in the sense it's better than what anyone else in the world has got, right? I mean, it's a different type of negotiation. Usually a trade negotiation with, say, India or the EU is how can you deepen the existing terms of trade. This has been about responding to a US agenda. But there's no point, Ed, just coming on a programme like this and saying, I wish the world was a bit different, a bit nicer. Sure. I wish this wasn't the agenda. You've got to deal with the world as it is. And we've done that, and we've got a better set of terms than anybody else. My view is there shouldn't be any tariffs between the UK and the US. But don't forget, Ed, when you're talking about tariffs, you're talking about your own people pay those. Yes, UK goods, for instance, to the US would be more expensive with a tariff in place. But it's the American public who pay those tariffs. So that's the decision any country has to make. But I am confident in the approach that we've taken and how we are continuing to have that negotiation to make sure we get this to the maximum possible benefit of every bit of the UK.
Can I ask you about the unfolding tragedy in Gaza? Conversation today between the President and Keir Starmer about a potential ceasefire. I think on Thursday you were on our programme, a couple of days ago. We asked you about this issue of whether the UK will join with France and recognise the Palestinian state as part of that process towards peace. You said it's when, not if. Pretty clear, though. Keir Starmer was very resistant on Friday to that. I would say a different tone from you. There was a split in the cabinet with people like Wes Streeting saying, do it now. You saying as soon as possible, Keir Starmer resisting. Is that split going to be sorted out this week?
There's no split. The whole of the Labour Party, every Labour MP was elected on a manifesto of recognition of a Palestinian state. And we all want it to happen. It is a case of when, not if. But, the reason I gave you that answer last week is the one I'd give you now. It's about how we use this moment, because you can only do it once, to have a meaningful breakthrough. There are, I think, 140 countries around the world who already recognise a Palestinian state. I respect that, but it hasn't stopped the intolerable scenes that you are quite rightly talking about. It hasn't stopped the appalling suffering. So if we've got this moment, let's do it in a way which galvanises a real peace process. The US is very important in that. I think we'd all recognise the leverage that they have in this conflict, that the previous two ceasefires were delivered in no small part due to the US working with the Egyptians and the Qataris. So that is what we want to do. But that's not just what we want
Keir
in the
Starmer
UK.
follows the French example and this week changes from what he said on Friday and announces that he will go for Palestinian state recognition. Are you saying to me that's not another U-turn from Keir Starmer? Because I have to say, it looks like it would be now, given his resistance.
It's not at all. It's the same position we were elected upon in that manifesto, which is we want to recognise, we will recognise a Palestinian state. That is what Palestinians need, it's what Israelis need. It's the only basis for a long-term settlement. But it's how we work with partners to do it. There's no point just making an announcement because that's something that we want to do. It has no impact on the conflict. We've got to use this as a galvanising moment towards a proper peace process, a proper settlement, to say we will not tolerate the kind of suffering we are seeing, but we don't just want to stop that for the short term. We want that ended for good. And that does require a proper process. It does require a Palestinian state. That's why we're committed to recognising it. It's also what the Israelis need for the long term as well. There's absolutely clarity on our position on that.
There were calls for more action to be taken over arms sales. We know 57 MPs have written to the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, and to you as well, calling on the Labour government to explain why arms exports to Israel have increased since 30 out of around 350 licences were suspended. They're calling for the government to end all arms exports or be complicit in genocide. Will you do that?
We have already ended all arms exports to Israel that could be used in the conflict in Gaza. We do make a distinction between any equipment which would be used for the wider defence of Israel, particularly against Iranian aggression, which is something that we have seen. But because of what we are seeing in Gaza, we've ended arms exports to Israel for any equipment that could be used in Gaza. There is one exemption to that, which is around the supply chain for F-35s. It's a global consortium. Our parts go into a global supply chain, and that's both something we can't make a distinction for, but also crucial to national security of the UK and, of course, the conflict in Ukraine as part of that as well. But we have already ended all arms exports to Israel that could be used in the conflict in Gaza, and we did that pretty quickly after the election. OK,
a complete change of subject now, but obviously we are celebrating this morning the Lionesses and their Euros victory. We know that back in 2022, when he was in opposition, Keir Starmer had pushed for a bank holiday to be able to celebrate this. So can you tell us what the view is on whether there should be a bank holiday to celebrate the Lionesses' win? What do you think?
And just to give you a bit of context, Johnny Reynolds, we've been discussing it this morning, and Charlotte is saying, of course we must seize the moment. I've been saying it costs £2 billion a day for a bank holiday. Not clearly the right thing to do. Are you backing Charlotte? Are you backing me?
I feel you're putting me in sort of right between a couple here. But look, it's a magnificent achievement. There has to be a celebration. That's what the Prime Minister called for in opposition. So we're having a Downing Street reception today. The victory parade is scheduled for tomorrow. But I can't promise people a bank holiday and a day off work, but there should absolutely be a celebration for a magnificent achievement. I mean, I've never seen an England team that handles big tournament football as well as this team. There were some really difficult moments, I think, particularly that Sweden game and things like that. But they pulled it out the bag, and it is magnificent to see and enjoy.
I don't think you quite answered the question there, Mr. Reynolds.
Well, he is a
no, I can't promise you a bank holiday, but there will be a celebration. I can't be clearer on that. Don't make me the fun police head, but no, I can't promise everyone a day off work, I'm afraid, as much as that would be a wonderful thing.
I was doing it for you. I was doing it for you. Thank you, Jonathan Reynolds.
Thanks very much for joining us.
Back with us again, the second time in 3 days.